Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We're going on with the next speaker, the honourable member for Carleton.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, moments ago, the finance minister had the audacity to say that families like his are not getting any benefit checks in Canada. This from the finance minister who only days ago we learned has been taking $65,000 dividend checks from a company that he regulates. And those are on a monthly basis, Mr. Speaker, not to be confused. Now, this is from a finance minister who says that, quote, a privileged few should pay more. Yet, nothing in today's proposal would see the family fortunes of this finance minister or the Prime Minister touched by any taxes at all. Once again, they have sheltered themselves. Now on to the bigger picture. This Prime Minister promised a small $10 billion deficit. Remember that?
And then back.
Today we learned that the deficit is double that. He promised the budget would be balanced by 2019. Now we learn the deficit will be almost $17 billion in that year, and there are no balanced budgets projected by this government ever. There is literally not a single year into the distant future when this government projects ever eliminating the deficit, apparently believing that the government can borrow its way out of debt into prosperity. The pattern here is a government that does exactly the opposite of what it says. They said they'd raise taxes on the rich, and now, according to the finance minister's own department, the rich are paying $1 billion less in taxes. They claimed they'd lower taxes on the middle class. The Fraser Institute confirmed that 87% of middle-class taxpayers are paying more income tax today than they were when this Prime Minister took office. On average, $800 more. So middle-class people like farmers, plumbers, and electricians pay $800 more in tax, while millionaires like the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister are actually paying lower tax. They claim that they would close loopholes. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister puts his money away in trust funds that avoid paying any new tax under his proposals. The same Prime Minister puts funds in numbered companies so that he can avoid paying tax. And, of course, the Finance Minister stuffs away his $20 million investment in Morneau in a numbered company in Alberta. So he lives on Bay Street, yet his companies are in Alberta, Barbados, and France, all of which allow him to pay lower taxes than everyone else pays. He is the very definition of the privileged few, the aristocratic old money elite that have taken generational wealth handed down from those who came before them, like the Prime Minister, who took his wealth from the petroleum empire of his grandfather, and yet now wants to protect his own benefits from additional taxation while he forces others to pay more. Such is the system of government that this party creates. They gave nearly $400 million in handouts to Bombardier, a company, by the way, that has hired the finance minister's family business. Now, that company is selling its intellectual property and its next-generation aircraft to a European company, a subsidy effectively from this federal government to protect the wealthy and the well-connected, in particular this time, the billionaire Bombardier-Baudouin family. The old feudal economy, where the rich get richer and the working class pay the bills. This is the new trickle-down government, where they take money from the working class, put it in the hands of politicians, who give it to the wealthiest corporations, and they expect us to believe that it's just going to, a few drops will trickle down to the people who earned it in the first place. The ultimate concentration of wealth, of course, is government. The bigger government gets, the more business invests in lobbying for a larger share of that money. There is definitive research showing that if government gets bigger, businesses spend more on lobbying because they understand that the way you get rich in a government-run economy is by having the best lobbyist. The way you get ahead in a free market economy is by having the best product or service. On this side of the House of Commons, we believe in a free enterprise economy, where you can only get better off if you sell a product or service to someone that is worth more than they have to pay for it, where you cannot force someone to buy your product through a government edict or a subsidy or taxation, where you have to convince them that the thing you're offering them is actually worth more to them than the dollar they part with to buy it. This government wants to leave behind that free enterprise tradition that has created all of the prosperity that Canadians enjoy. We believe in an economy based on meritocracy. They believe in an economy based on old money and privilege. And it's no surprise, Mr. Speaker, because that is the experience. It is what they have known. It is what they have always understood. We on this side of the aisle will continue to champion the underdog, the striver, the upstart, and the challenger. Again, while they look for new ways to put up obstacles in the way of those who try to get ahead in order to protect the privilege of those who already have lots of money, we will knock down those barriers so people can keep building, growing, and getting ahead, where they will be judged not by their connections or their family pedigree, but by what they have to contribute, where we see the dignity of work inside of every single Canadian and the potential for them to play out that dignity with their own merit and their own contributions, Mr. Speaker. That is the free enterprise, merit-driven vision that we have for the economy. While they continue to expropriate billions of dollars from entrepreneurs and workers in order to spend on complicated schemes like superclusters and Bombardier bailouts, we'll leave that money in the hands of the people who earned it, because they are always better at spending it than those politicians who tax it. And, Mr. Speaker, that is the approach we have always taken. It is the reason why, under Prime Minister Harper, we had the biggest drop and the lowest levels of poverty in recorded Canadian history. Poverty fell from highs in the mid-teens under the first Trudeau government to 8.8% in the last full year that the Prime Minister Harper served. He did it by raising the personal exemption to free 1 million low-income Canadians from taxation. He brought in the working income tax benefit to give a pay increase to low-income working people trying to escape from social assistance. We eliminated red tape so small upstart businesses who could not afford accountants and crafty consultants could start their businesses without the shackles of government holding them back. We opened up the economy so that people could strive hard, work hard, and get ahead on their own merit. That is the opportunity economy that we will create. That is the vision we will present, and that is the vision that Canadians will choose in 2019.